All right. Welcome to Keeping It Real, the largest podcast made for real estate agents and by real estate agents. My name is DJ Paris. I'm your guide and host through the show. And today we have our monthly series, Monday Market Minute, with Carrie McCormick from At Properties from the Carrie McCormick Real Estate Group. Now, if you're new to the show, Carrie is a top 1% producer in Chicago with over 20 years of experience helping buyers and sellers and investors. In fact, in the past 12 months, out of 44,000 agents here in the Chicagoland area, Carrie was ranked number 16 in production. She is a true superstar and expert in everything from first-time home buyers, veteran investors, and luxury properties. She also works with a lot of developers and has chosen to represent their high-end developments. I know this to be a fact because I am purchasing a property that Carrie represents through a developer currently. So that is how enmeshed she is in everything here in Chicagoland real estate. We are thrilled to have her on the show. She's been with us since the very beginning. Please visit Carrie at her website, which is carriemccormickre.com, and also follow her on Instagram, which is at Carrie McCormick Real Estate. But please visit her website. Really, both her social media and her websites are great models for what agents can aspire to promote yourself to your sphere of influence and for people to find you online. Carrie, welcome once again to the show.
Thank you so much. That's quite the introduction. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, we've gone back many years of doing the podcast, so I really appreciate it. It's a great opportunity.
And should we also mention, we won't say where, but Carrie just happens to be going on a trip coming up to the same exact place that I just got back from completely accidentally. And so we are connected in a lot of different ways now.
Absolutely.
Well, what's going on here in the Chicagoland real estate market?
Well, it's November in the US and it's November here in Chicago. So I found this really neat, it's on Instagram. It's on the Wall Street Journal. I want to see if you guys can see it.
So what this says for all of our listeners is how the market moves before and after an election. And if you're like me, you're probably checking the news way too much right now to see what's going on with the election. As we're recording right now, this probably won't go out till Monday. The election maybe will be decided by then, but as of today, Friday, we're not totally sure what's happening yet. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. But this was interesting because it just talks about the markets, the financial markets after an election day. And it goes back to 1984 to when the Reagan election, and the markets always have done well after these elections. You know, right before the election, I felt this here in Chicago. It's like the week or two before, it kind of just slowed down a little bit. I think everyone got nervous and, you know, the market was very quiet. But today, Friday, we're getting a ton of showing requests. People seem to be feeling a little bit better, no matter what side you're on, but just feeling relief of we kind of know where we're going. And so we're seeing a nice little uptick in the market. Anyways, this was a fun, Wall Street Journal on Instagram, kind of fun graphic to look at and make yourselves feel better that the market's going to probably do well after this election. But just to talk about Chicago as a whole, we've read in the news and keep hearing, people are fleeing the city and people keep talking about it. And there's a lot of movement here in Chicago. People are making what I call move ups, whether they're going to the suburbs or they're going from a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom, a 3-bedroom to a single family. There's all this movement in the city and a lot of negative news about Chicago. And we do have our challenges, but I want to remind people that, we have such a large population here in Chicago and such a diverse economy and stable market. Chicago has 32, I said that wrong. We have 32 Fortune 500 companies right here in Chicago. We have a very high private sector employment market here. We have 58 million visitors in this city approximately each year. It's the second to New York. We've got some really great neighborhoods and different price points, and Chicago's always been very resilient. So as much as we've had challenges here in Chicago, I don't see tons of people fleeing. I see movement or, people making choices either to move to the suburbs or wherever they're going a little bit faster than they were before. But just to remind everybody that, Chicago is a resilient city. We've got a lot to offer all of the people that live here.
And I think too, right now rates are so low still, and talking to people in the mortgage world, they don't anticipate the rates changing anytime in the near future. So what a great opportunity to talk to any renters out there, and they now have more purchasing power than they did a year ago. So you have the ability to buy more. I know that's one of the main reasons you actually touched on really one of the reasons I'm moving into a property you represent, but also a second reason. One is just because interest rates are so low, and the second is just like you were saying, moving up. I wanted an additional bedroom, and I wanted to move beyond that. So I think there's probably a lot of people who just now are wherever they're moving to, they're probably moving to a bigger place just because they can afford it more. Assuming, and obviously there's a lot of people struggling right now with employment, but for those who are gainfully employed, if nothing has changed in their financial situation, they can afford a bigger place now.
Right. And some have to, because they're going to be working out of the home. I mean, life has changed, right? And so, whatever space is important to you, people are seeking it. So it's keeping the Chicago real estate busy. Every broker that I speak to and collaborate with, everyone's been busy. And so it's been, really great. And my prediction, and I have no facts or anything to put behind this, but I just the feeling in the market is that we'll continue this into 2021. I think we'll still have a nice end of the year here in the real estate market. And then come 2021, people are going to be looking for happiness and looking for something brighter as, the new year brings new hope for everybody. And the real estate market will continue to move.
Yeah, and you said you don't have facts or figures, but what you do have is 20 years of experience as a top producer. So your opinion is much more valid, I think, than what we might be seeing elsewhere, especially in the news. But yeah, are you having a lot of conversations right now with sellers about, is this the right time, being that inventory is at least here in the city is somewhat there's a bit of a decrease in available inventory?
Yeah, what's actually been interesting with that, and yes, to answer your question, I've been meeting with a lot of sellers, is that, and one in particular I met with last night, is they're afraid to put their house on the market now because they're like, we have nowhere to go.
Right.
I've seen actually sellers put their homes on the market, it go under contract very quickly, and then they can't find a suitable place where they want to go. So they just get a little nervous. So it depends, as a real estate broker, we're also a consultant and an advisor, is really kind of finding out what their goals and plans are, and whether it's, they put their home on the market this year or in the spring. It's just a collaborative effort of coming up with the plan that works for them. But in addition to, speaking with my clients as a, business owner, I run my own business, is marketing and branding and advertising and budgeting for next year. This year, I always set a budget for my advertising and spending. And this year I blew my budget, which is fine. And, I sold a lot more real estate this year, but just trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. So I think it's important for the realtors that are listening is to really reevaluate your business from 2020, what worked, what didn't work, where did your deals come from, and figure out what is providing the best ROI, for your money. But really the one thing that has always worked for me is my networking and my connections with people. With COVID, you don't have as much networking, obviously, and your ability to connect and communicate with people are limited. It's very different. But with, between Zoom and all this other stuff, you kind of have to reinvent the way that you do business. So I think it's important for all the brokers to look, at their spend and what they're going to do for 2021. I'll show you a quick little behind the scenes funny for you guys. Great. So I do all of my own marketing, as a lot of people know, and I'm very particular about what I send out and my messaging, and some good, some bad, it is what it is, but it's, it's my brainchild. This is sitting on my desk, and I'm only showing it to you because I think it's really funny. So I was trying to come up with a new campaign, and I was trying to explain it and no one could understand what I was talking about. So I'm like, let me just draw it out for you. So here it is. That's all I'm
Oh,
going to
I
do.
love that. I
So it's a
love
lot
it.
of stick figures. It's a lot of like things. And it's like, it was just easier for me, but I'll show you it again. It's kind of
I
funny.
love that. Oh, that's great.
Um, but anyways, that's just kind of how sometimes like my brain works is I'll just kind of start drawing stuff and
Just
it,
sketch an idea. Yeah.
yeah. And I do have an art degree, which is kind of sad. And this is what it ends up to be. But, it's coming up with out of the box type of marketing and branding for your business. And so you can launch it good in 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. For everyone who is listening, please follow Carrie on Instagram to see, because she is somebody, you'll look at it and you won't believe that she's actually creating the content, because she's, number one, probably too busy to do it, but also you would think it's a professional, advertising sort of studio doing this work, and it's actually Carrie. So that's Carrie McCormick, at Carrie McCormick Real Estate. And then to tag on to that, I have a marketing idea that's very, very close to what you were mentioning, which is, we all know that even if we work exclusively by referral, which is probably the goal for a lot of us, we still, people are going to look us up online. And, maybe you don't have a great website or a website at all, but what you absolutely need to have, if you haven't yet built even if you have built a website, is you need to have reviews. The number one, we know that, the number one reason why people will end up choosing to buy a product or service is basically based on online reviews. It's the number one signal for buyers and sellers. And I don't mean exclusively real estate. In fact, it's probably much lower than that for real estate, because real estate's so much of a word of mouth business. But for goods and services, especially online purchases, reviews are everything. Think about how often you go to Amazon and you don't buy something that has poor reviews. Well, the number one place to get reviews traditionally has always been Zillow. And I think you absolutely should be there, because we know Zillow has over 100 million. In fact, it might even be, I should know because they come on my show every month, it might even be 200 million people a month go to Zillow. It's between 100 and 200 million. So you absolutely need to have reviews on Zillow. And, if you're using Zillow, you probably already know how to do that. And we talk about it with our Zillow Insights series here on the show. But the other place you need to get reviews is Google, because when someone Googles your name, if you have a Google, what's called a Google My Business page, that will be the very first thing that pops up on the right hand side on a Google search, and it will show you your reviews. So the first thing you want to do is get educated about what Google My Business is. It's basically a free business page that Google will provide you. You have to give them a physical address. They're going to mail you a postcard in the mail with a code on it. That way they know that it's a legitimate business. It'll take a week or so to receive, and then you'll verify that. And then what you need to start doing is asking for reviews. I could talk about Google My Business for hours. There's a lot of things you could be doing with it, but the very first thing you should be doing is asking for reviews. So I know that it is not easy to go back to your previous clients and say, hey, that great review you wrote me on Zillow, can you also write it for me on Google? But, it's a good thing to do, because it literally will show up whenever somebody Googles your name. So as much as you might not want to go back and ask, I know if a company asked me, in fact, companies have asked me to do this, where they'll say, I wrote them a nice review on Yelp, and then they reach out to me and say, hey, that was really nice of you. Do you mind also posting that on Google and Facebook? And I'm like, no problem. I just copy and paste it. It takes 2 seconds. But you as the agent aren't able to do that. The customer has to do it themselves. So this is a great time if things are starting to slow down in the holiday season, get a little card made that says, please review me on Google, and mail it out to everyone with your holiday card or with, a personal note or something. But I'm telling you, in the last year, our company, we never really focused on Google My Business reviews. And now we ask all of when our agents work with a client, we ask the client to review their agent, and we ask them to do it on Google. And in the last 6 months, we've gotten over 160 reviews. Now we have 700 agents, so that's probably not a big number. But if, you probably, if you only even have 5 clients a year or 10 clients or 20 clients, really ask them, tell them it really will help you grow your business. And they probably like you enough to do it. And, just do that. Get those reviews, because Zillow, you need them there too, but you really, really need them on Google as well.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And I just started doing that too. it is hard to ask for reviews, especially on multiple platforms. But I think, like you said, people are happy to do it, especially if they can cut and paste.
Yeah, I get it. It's not something fun to ask for, but if you explain to them like, hey guys, hey Mr. and Mrs. Client, I would really, really greatly appreciate it. And then maybe do something nice for them you're not supposed to reward somebody for a good view that goes against Google's terms of service, but you could do something thoughtful for them as a result. But tell them it would really help you. And it's just as easy as cutting and pasting. And you could even cut and paste their Zillow review for them and then call them and say, hey, if it's okay, I'm going to send you an email. I'm going to copy your review. If you don't mind, here's the link. It'll take them 2 seconds. I would think most people would do that. So anyway, that's my little marketing tip of the day. Have a wonderful vacation. And we were talking before we started about places to go. And Carrie's actually been to this place before that I ended up going, and now she's going back. So I am jealous for her. But we will see you next month when you return. And we'll close out the year with another Monday Market Minute. So for everyone listening, please visit Carrie on her website, which is Carrie McCormick, re.com. I know for a lot of our listeners who are realtors, you might say, why should I visit another realtor's website? Because you should see what a really great realtor website looks like. And if you're a buyer, a seller, a renter, an investor here in the Chicagoland area, and you're looking to work with a top producer, Carrie is literally one of the very top of the top. So you reach out to her. Carrie, what's the best way someone should reach out to you?
Always call me, 312-961-4612. Or you can email me, carrie@properties.com.
Awesome. And we should also congratulate At Properties and the company I work for that we both made the Chicago Top Workplace again. This is the Tribune. Chicago Tribune's our local paper here, and they put out the top places to work. Carrie's company is in the large business because they are large size businesses. I think they have 3,000 or 3,000 agents working there. We have only about 700, but both. So we were in the mid-size, you guys were in large, and we both had the highest ranks for our respective category for real estate. So congrats to both our companies there. And again, for everyone listening, we thank you for continuing to support our show. On behalf of the listeners and myself, we thank Carrie. She's been with us for years and years, and she's so great. We love having her, and we will see everybody next time. Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you.